Hello and welcome to the St. Joseph Statue House Selling Guide, in which we answer the top 10 most frequently asked questions on the St. Joseph Statue house selling tradition. Question 1. What exactly is the St. Joseph house selling statue tradition? Well, according to tradition, if you bury a small statue of St. Joseph in the front garden of the house to be sold, the house will sell easily, quickly, at the right price, and to the right buyer. And that, in a nutshell, is the St. Joseph statue house selling tradition. Question 2. Does the tradition actually work? Well, yes, we can say categorically that the house selling tradition does work. Because if you look online alone, you will find tens of thousands of reviews from individuals who have successfully used the statue to sell houses. Question 3. What exactly does this house selling statue tradition involve? Well, what it involves is buying a small statue of St. Joseph, burying the statue upside down in the front garden of the house to be sold, saying a specific house-selling novena prayer for 9 consecutive days, and watching your house sell. Once the house sells, you are expected to unearth the statue and place the statue in a special place of honor in your new home. It's really as simple as that. Question 4. But do I have to believe for this to work? Again, we're going to answer categorically no. You do not need to believe for this statue tradition to work. We have seen plenty of reviews from people who use the statue as a sort of a joke. They used it because they were desperate. They used it because other people kind of pushed them into it. But none of these people actually believed. And yet the statue tradition worked beautifully for them. So you do not need to be of any faith, and you certainly do not need to be of the Christian faith, because this is almost like a standalone tradition that works. Question 5. Why exactly do I have to bury this statue upside down? In many ways, this is one of the more difficult questions to answer, and we're not exactly sure about this. What we can tell you is that we've been studying the statue tradition now for 5 years as a group of PhD scientists, and we're quite interested in all of the new science that's emerging around the brain and how it's wired and neuroplasticity. And having held focus groups with people who have successfully used the St. Joseph statue to sell their houses, we think it's almost like burying the statue upside down occupies and distracts the conscious brain and allows the unconscious brain then, which is a very powerful ally, to help us sell the house. That's our best guess, and I think it's as much as anyone knows about why you need to bury the statue upside down. Regardless of the why, we'll tell you that that's the tradition, and it's like a recipe. It seems to work really well, so we would recommend not overthinking it and just burying the statue upside down and following the process and trusting the process as well. Question 6. Where exactly do I bury this statue? Well, you bury the statue upside down in the front garden of the house to be sold. If there's a for sale sign, we recommend that you bury the statue close to the for sale sign. We highly recommend that you mark the spot where you bury the statue, because according to tradition you need to unearth the statue after the house sells, and it's amazing how difficult it can be to find a small 3-inch statue when you go looking, and you certainly don't want to spoil the front lawn looking for this small statue. Now, if you're selling an apartment, a business, or a property that's far away or overseas, you can just bury the statue upside down in a pot, and that works equally well. Question 7. What do I do if I forget to unearth the statue? Well, our advice is that the most responsible thing to do is to contact the people who bought your home and ask them to unearth the statue for you. There's no shame in saying that you use a St. Joseph statue to help sell your house. That's fine. But the issue is that according to the tradition, as long as the statue remains buried in the front garden, the house will continue to turn over and sell. So, say for example, a family have bought the house and they plan to be there for 50 years, and you leave the statue. Well, according to the tradition, that house will change hands quickly for whatever reason. And so we think that the kindest, most responsible thing to do is just to let people know and ask if they will unearth the statue for you. Of course, if you've marked the spot, it's going to be so much easier for them as well. Question 8. Where exactly does the statue tradition come from? Well, according to ancient folklore, Saint Teresa of Avila was trying to buy a specific piece of land to build a convent for her nuns, but a very stubborn landowner was refusing to sell. Saint Teresa was a wily nun, like many nuns, and she instructed the nuns to bury statues of Saint Joseph on the land that she wanted to buy. And according to tradition, the landowner gave in and sold the land to Saint Teresa of Avila. So technically, the original tradition was all about buying land, but the modern version is about using the statue to sell property. Question 9. Which kind of statue should I choose? Well, we'll say it doesn't really matter. What we will advise is that it's easier to use a plastic statue, because when you try to unearth the statue, it comes away in one piece and it's very easy. But if you try to use a wooden statue, it will decompose and it's quite difficult to unearth. Equally, we will say a statue that doesn't have small pieces. So sometimes a statue may have baby Jesus in St. Joseph's arms, or it could have some flowers, and these small parts can be very difficult to unearth because they break off in the soil. So a small plastic statue, usually less than 3 inches, and that doesn't contain small, easily breakable parts, should do the trick fine. And question number 10, why exactly should I try this tradition? Well, we think there are so many reasons for you to try this tradition. I mean, do you want to sell your house? Okay, we think that this is firstly a tradition that works. Secondly, it's inexpensive. I mean, the most the whole thing is going to cost is $20, and it'll probably cost a lot less. It's got a very high potential return on investment because, when you're waiting for a house to sell, it can have all sorts of financial implications. So if the statue can sell your house really quickly and improve your cash flow, then we think $20 is a very, very good investment. And the final piece of this that we would say is we absolutely know that selling a house is one of the most stressful events in someone's life. So if you can make this easier in any way, it sort of makes your telomeres, these parts of your genes that shorten when you get stressed and as you age, maybe it can just keep those a little bit longer and keep you healthy and happier for longer. So we think one of the main reasons for using this tradition is that if it can reduce stress at what is otherwise a very stressful time of your life, then we think it's absolutely worth doing. We wish you every success in selling your house.